Mark had been on the dole for nearly 2 years. At 28, he felt like the constant rejection had sucked all the youthful optimism right out of him. Every day was the same. Wake up, fire off CVs to warehouses, restaurants, and offices across Croydon, only to get the same automated reply, "We regret to inform you." He was proper knackered and on the verge of giving up altogether when his mate, Pete, gave him a tip. "Stop aiming for the posh jobs, mate. The Tesco Extra on the high street is looking for a security guard. Just apply, ain't it?" So Mark did. To his shock, he got the job on his first try. When the confirmation email landed in his inbox, he nearly wept with relief, thanking Pete over a pint at the local. The Tesco wasn't massive, but it was the heart of the neighborhood. Its bright signs lit up the high street long after most other shops had shut. Inside, it was always a bit of a circus. Families with screaming toddlers, old geezers taking ages to pick a loaf of bread, the usual. Mark's job was to stand by the door, keep an eye on things, do the occasional patrol, and lock up after closing. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a wage. He was just chuffed to not be unemployed anymore. A few weeks in, Mark started noticing a particular woman. She'd come in almost every day, always around the same time, late afternoon when the post-school rush had died down. She was a bit odd. Long, unkempt hair, a pale complexion, and she always carried a faded floral tote bag. Mark assumed she was just another local, but there was something about her that made him uneasy. Sometimes she'd just stand by the reduced items aisle, staring blankly at him. Other times she'd wander the aisles without picking up a single thing. Mark often thought about asking if she needed help, but always talked himself out of it. "Don't be a wally, Mark. She's just shopping." One night, after his shift ended, Mark was walking back to his small flat. His route took him through a patch of scrubland known as the Wreck, a shortcut that was always deserted and eerily quiet after dark. The sky was thick with gloomy clouds, a proper British drizzle was coming down, and a chilly wind was blowing. Mark ducked under the skeletal branches of a large old oak tree for a bit of shelter when he suddenly heard it, the unmistakable sound of a woman crying. He froze. "Get a grip, Mark," he muttered to himself, but the sound was clear and it was close. His heart hammering against his ribs, he peered into the gloom. "Hello? Is someone there?" he called out, his voice tighter than he'd have liked. From behind the tree, a woman emerged. She was cradling a small baby swaddled in a blanket. She was soaked to the bone, her hair plastered to her face, and she looked utterly broken as she stood before him. "Please, can you help me?" she sobbed. "My husband, he's thrown me out. I've got the baby, and in this weather, I've got nowhere to go. Could you just talk to him, please? Just for one night. I'll be gone by morning." Mark's heart went out to her. Fear aside, he couldn't just leave her. "All right, love. Come on. I'll walk you home." They trudged through the muddy path, the only sounds being the relentless drip-drip from the trees and the squelch of their footsteps. Soon enough, they arrived at a dilapidated terraced house on a street where every other house seemed to have its lights on. This one was in darkness. The front door was slightly ajar. A faint, unpleasant smell, like damp and decay, wafted out. "Bit dark in there, isn't it?" Mark said, frowning. "Where's the light switch?" The woman silently pointed towards a doorway. Mark stepped inside, pulling out his phone to use the torch. The light was feeble, casting long, dancing shadows. Just as he was about to feel for the switch, his foot caught on something heavy, and he went sprawling onto the floor. As his hands hit the ground, he felt something wet and sticky. His blood ran cold. Scrambling to his feet, his hands trembling uncontrollably, he finally found the light switch and flicked it on. The sight that met his eyes made his soul curdle. On the floor lay two bodies. One was the woman he had just met under the tree and walked home. The other was a man, presumably her husband. Mark was still trying to process the horrific scene when a sound pierced the silence. The cry of a baby. The same baby that had been in her arms just moments ago. His heart stopped. He slowly turned around, and what he saw made the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. The tiny baby was lying on the floor beside the woman's body, wailing inconsolably. Its cries echoed hauntingly in the empty house. Mark's feet were rooted to the spot. His mind was in total shock. How is this possible? She was just with me. So what is this? He knew if he called the police and told them this story, they'd think he'd gone mad. He sank into a corner, his whole body shaking. Finally, he mustered the courage, pulled out his phone, and with trembling hands dialed 999. The police arrived swiftly. Taking in the scene, their initial suspicion fell squarely on Mark. "Did you do this, son?" a stern-looking DI asked him. No, I didn't. I just walked her home. I swear on my life, it just happened." They tried to detain him, but he kept insisting, "Just investigate, you'll see the truth." The police turned the house upside down. The bloodied carpet, a broken lampstand by the bed, an empty bottle of bleach in the kitchen sink, all painted a clear picture of a domestic tragedy that had escalated fatally. The post-mortem confirmed the wife had been bludgeoned with a heavy object. The bloodied lamp found near the bed was the murder weapon, covered in the husband's fingerprints. Further investigation found a lethal dose of poison in the husband's system. It seemed after killing his wife, consumed by guilt or fear of prison, he had taken his own life. In one night, the house had become a tomb for two, and the baby, an innocent child, was left utterly alone in the world. While Mark was initially the prime suspect, the evidence was clear. The police reported to the Crown Prosecution Service that Mark had no involvement. He was cleared of any wrongdoing. But the truth was, this clearance didn't bring Mark no peace. He was trapped by one unanswerable question. If she was already dead in the house, then who did I meet under that tree, and who led me back there? Life was never the same for Mark after that. His mates would whisper, "He's lost the plot he has, seeing ghosts now." He tried to explain, but no one believed him. They'd just laugh it off or look at him with pity. He eventually started therapy. For hours, he'd sit in front of his counselor, asking the same question. Was it all in my head? Or did that woman, that mother, really come to me for help? But no one had an answer. Every session just left him more tangled up inside than before. Time moved on, but Mark never found freedom from the fear. He'd often wake up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, certain he could hear a baby crying. Now his body is frail, his health faded, but the question still haunts him, unanswered. Who was that woman? If the woman was already dead in the house, then who did I meet in the park, and who led me back there? He still doesn't have an answer. So what do you guys think? Ghost? A hallucination? Let me know your theories in the comments.